Guys, coming back for The Flash, Season 2, Episode 19, Back to Normal. I was really looking forward to this episode, mainly because, as we know last week, we found out who Zoom is, we found out his identity, and I really was hoping the show would move forward with showing really who he is, showing what he can do, things like that, and I really thought we were going to get into the whole Barry versus Zoom arc, and of course, as we know, Barry lost his powers last week when I was really looking forward to seeing how that was going to play out here, and this was kind of a boring episode, I'm not going to lie. There were some really good things about this episode that I definitely really did enjoy, mainly the Zoom stuff I thought was very strong, but a lot of the stuff they did, I mean, this felt very, very filler, and we're on episode 19. I mean, there are 4 episodes left this season after this episode, and I don't know why they had to spend most of this episode focusing on some metahuman that we're probably never going to see again. It really just felt pointless that they did that. And I get that they were trying to do a comparison between Barry and this other metahuman, but it really didn't work for me, and a lot of it really just felt very pointless. And back to normal, if that really means back to the normal structure of the show where we have one metahuman a week, I mean, that's just really weak, and I feel like they should have spent a little bit more time on some things than they did, but let's just get into this episode, because like I said, very disappointing, honestly, but let's get into it. So I did like the way this episode starts, because we see Barry wakes up, he goes about his normal life without super speed, he's even like narrating himself what normal people do, because he's so used to having his speed and using it for so many things that without it, he just feels kind of pointless, and he just feels like he's not really, fitting in with society as much, which, again, I understand, yes, the episode, maybe it was supposed to feel pointless because Barry's life is kind of pointless, but again, just it didn't do much for me. He takes the bus to work, waits in line at Jitters for coffee. At the police lab, he drops his coffee cup and fails to catch it in time. And I mean, just imagine what Barry's going through. You're used to having speed, you're used to having all these, abilities, and now you've had it taken away from you. You really would just feel off. You really would feel like there's, you don't really know what you can do anymore. You don't really know, who you are anymore. Really would feel like a part of you is gone. And that's really what I feel like it feels like for Barry, that a part of him he feels like is gone. So at Star Lab, Cisco tries to get a vibe from Hunter's helmet. He confirms that Caitlin is in Zoom's lab and they wonder what they can do. And Wells points out that they're all suffering because, as we know, Caitlin was kidnapped by Zoom, and now Zoom can come through the breach anytime he wants, and it's on Barry because of that. So Barry, of course, can't stop him because he doesn't have his speed, so Zoom is more powerful than Barry at this point. So when Iris says that they made the decisions as a team, Wallace says that he didn't, and he tells the others that he's going to find Jesse before Zoom does, and explains that he found his daughter through cellular dead zones, and basically wants to track down Jesse. So I knew we were going to see Jesse again. I knew this wasn't going to be the last we saw of her, was when she decided to leave. I knew that we were going to see her again, but I really felt they used her in a very fairly weak way, and it really just felt like they were trying to make her the Caitlin of this episode, because Caitlin was MIA, as we know. So Cisco goes to his workshop. Joe tells Barry that it isn't all on him, it's not his fault, and Barry says that he's going to stick around now that he's finished his work at the police lab, and even though he can't really do anything, he does, of course, want to catch Zoom, that's the thing. So at Zoom tells Caitlin, and without a doubt, the best scenes in this episode all took place at Zoom's lair. All of those scenes I thought were very well executed. I definitely really appreciate them, until we got to a certain scene which really pissed me off. We'll get into that. So at Zoom's lab, Zoom tells Caitlin that she needs to eat. She refuses to talk to him unless he removes his mask because she doesn't want to see him as Zoom. She wants to see him as Hunter Zolomon, the man that she loved, the man that clearly loved her, and she wants to know if just because he put on a facade as Jay Garrick, if that really was that he loved, if he really did love her and really did care about her. So he assures Caitlin that he's not going to hurt her because he cares too much about her. Caitlin says he only cares about himself and calls him Hunter. Jay insists that she'll change his opinion of him as a monster. She wonders why he's keeping her there, and he says that she's there because he loves her and figures that she'll feel the same about him again eventually, and really just feels that that love that she has, she will eventually have for him. So Zolomon vibrates her manacles off and tells her to make herself at home, and then speeds off. Caitlin looks around, finds a prisoner in the mask tapping on the wall. We still don't find out who that is in this episode. I'm pretty convinced that that's Eddie. I really feel like that would make sense because think about it, we haven't seen Eddie in Earth 2. We know that Eddie obviously is alive in Earth 2, so I really do feel like that's Eddie that's kidnapped. I'm not really sure, though. Or it could be Wally, because we haven't seen Wally in this universe either. So Frost is in another cell. We see Killer Frost once again, and again, Danielle Panabaker just killed it. I think she does an awesome job, and especially seeing the Caitlyn Killer Frost dynamic, I definitely really enjoy it. And I'm like, all right, we got Killer Frost back. This is awesome. She greets her doppelganger, and I honestly thought this entire episode should have just been on Earth 2. I really feel like this should have been an Earth 2 episode. So Wally meets Joe at the station, figures that Joe knows who Flash is. He asks his father to set up a meeting with Flash, and Joe warns that he can't do it right now, because obviously Flash is MIA. Flash can't be Flash right now because Flash doesn't have his powers, so he can't really do that with Wally. You can tell that Wally is prepared, and I like that seeing this side of Wally. I like seeing that Wally isn't stubborn. I like seeing that Wally actually wants to know who Flash is. I thought that was a good arc. I thought they did that really well. Then we get this really dumb scene with Wells. He goes to an apartment, asks Jesse's roommate Joanne if he can see Jesse. She invites him in. Jesse wonders how Wells found her, and she refused to go with him, telling Wells that everything that has happened to them is because of him. Jesse says she's just afraid of Wells, as she is Zoom, goes to her room. Obviously, she's not going to just budge. And as Wells drives back, a man steps in front of his van, stops it unmoved. The impact stuns Wells, and the man, Griffin Gray, pulls Wells out of the cab. And this is who we focused on for most of the episode. This guy, Griffin Gray, who I did not give two shits about. I mean, they could not have developed this character. They could not have, not developed this character as much as they did with Griffin Gray. I mean, I've never seen them not give a metahuman this much, this less of development, because they really didn't do much with him at all. He really just seemed like he was there to compare his situation to Barry very much, which I just didn't feel worked at all. So at Star Labs, Barry watches a newscast about how crime is increasing since Flash hasn't been seen, and of course, I mean, this had to have happened because Flash isn't there. Obviously, crime is worse because no one can bring those metahumans to justice. So an alarm goes off. Cisco says the lab van, the lab van that Wells was driving was in an accident, and he brings him an image of Griffin taking Wells and realizes that it was no accident. There are no traffic cams in the area. Barry heads there while Cisco tries to identify Wells' abductor, and Cisco says that where Wells stopped before the crash, and Barry figures that Jesse's there, and as he goes, he calls Iris, asks for her help. Caitlin speaks to Frost, who complains about the prisoner tapping, and the villain figures that Zoom needs something from him. Caitlin wonders why Zoom needs Frost. Frost says she's not going to stick around much longer and tells Caitlin that she's going to help her get out. She suggests that they make a deal. Caitlin frees her, and Frost actually helps her get home, which I like that Frost was actually helping her, because as we know, Barry thinks that there is good in Frost, and Frost actually does want to use that good in her, but again, she is going against Zoom's orders, which we'll get into when we get into a scene later that really pissed me off. But I did like that Frost actually did want to help her. I thought that was very interesting that we saw that. So Barry examines the van, lifts some fingerprints, and Iris wonders what the van hit. They figure there was a metahuman, and they may go after Jesse next. They feel that Jesse is going to be the next target. So at the Central City amusement park, Wells toys with his watch. Griffin introduces himself and says that he's one of Wells' mistakes, and Wells insists that he's not Wells, and basically, Griffin doesn't believe him and says that he wants Wells to fix him. The metahuman demonstrates his super strength, explains that it's accelerating his aging, and in a few months he'll be dead, we find out, and Wells says that he can't fix it. Griffin promises that if Wells can't help him, then he'll also die, which, again, just didn't really interest me. Oh, he's dying. That's what the threat is. That if he doesn't help him from dying, he's just gonna kill him. Yeah, no shit, that's what's gonna happen. I mean, obviously he's a villain. He just wants help from dying. I mean, just it didn't seem like a proper arc. It just seemed like something that they developed just to have a random metahuman in there, and it just didn't work for me at all. For me, like I said, this entire episode I think should have just been on Earth 2 and them trying to rescue Caitlin, which I'm sure we're gonna get to, but it doesn't happen in this episode. So Barry and Iris take Jesse to Star Labs. Cisco says the fingerprint belongs to Griffin. He went missing 6 months ago, and Cisco confirms that high school student's the same guy as the older man who abducted Wells, and Jessie says she majored in biochemistry in college and might be able to help, and Barry heads to the station to have Joe check the CCPD database while he runs facial recognition. Now, why Jessie just decides to take Caitlin's place, I'm not a fan of. I think it was really dumb. First of all, Jessie is not as strong as an actress as Caitlin. Definitely not as strong as an actress. She's not as intelligent as Caitlin. For me, it just didn't really work as well. So, Caitlin runs electrical wiring to open Frost's cell, asks how she was imprisoned, and Frost says that she woke up one day with the cold powers after being hit by the dark matter explosion. She flunked out of med school, had to move in with her mother. Frost had a brother, Charlie, who died, and I like that we fleshed out Frost more than we did, Griffin, and I feel like Frost was just so much more compelling of a character. She really should have been the main focus here when it comes to villains. So Frost had a brother, Charlie, who died. Caitlin misses she never had a brother, and she then explains that she's going to use the wiring to heat up the carbine while weakening the molecular structure. And Wally approaches Joe at the station and asks again to meet Flash one time. Joe says it's impossible. Wally misses he's been reckless his whole life, and when Zoom took him, Wally thought for the first time that he was going to die, and it's actually a really good scene. You see that he actually is upset, and Flash gives his powers to save him, and no one's ever done anything like that for Wally before. He wants to tell the hero how much that means to him, and basically just wants to tell him that, this kind of changed him in a way. This made Wally appreciate life more, and I really did like seeing that. Joe says that he'll see what he can do. Obviously, he doesn't really know what he's going to do because, again, Flash isn't really there. Joe gets a call in as he goes. Wally thanks him. So at Star Labs, Barry tells Jesse and Cisco that facial recognition picked Griffin breaking into chemical. He insists on trying to help with or without his speed. Barry asks Jesse to stay there and run the blood test on the sample they took from the van and leaves with Cisco. And once they meet Joe, the three men enter Ace Chemical and confront Griffin. He says that he can't let Wells go. He throws a metal drum at them. The trio then takes cover. Barry tries to flank him. He fires his pulse gun at Griffin and misses, and Griffin throws another drum into Barry, tells him that he's too slow. The metahuman then runs off, and Barry tells Cisco and Joe that he needs medical attention immediately, and again, this just wasn't particularly interesting. I cared so much more what was going on in Caitlin's side of things that for me, this just wasn't as interesting. And I'm sorry, it wasn't. I was not interested in this. So back at Star Labs, Iris bandages Barry's ribs. Jesse tells the others that Griffin's cell structure has mutated. He's suffering from oxidative stress. The oxidants are ravaging his DNA proteins. The more Griffin exerts himself, the faster he ages. And I didn't care. I really did not care that Griffin Greatest ages very fast. So as he and Jesse go off to work something up, Joe heads back to the station. Barry contemplates his flash suit and tells Iris that she's the first person he saved after he got his powers. Now he doesn't even know who he is anymore, who he's supposed to be, and Iris tells him that he's the same guy he's always been, suit or no suit. It's a very good scene. I really did like the scene between Iris and Barry. Iris and Barry haven't had a ton of interaction this season, honestly. They've had some interaction here and there, but it's been very divided between Iris and Barry. Iris has kind of been, focusing on reporting and things like that, and I do like they're trying to develop Iris and Barry more. As we know, Iris said last week that she does have feelings for Barry. She doesn't talk about it in this episode because of the situation he's going through, but you can definitely tell she does have that care for Barry, and she really does love Barry more than she ever thought she did, which I definitely did like seeing. I'm hoping that we really do get to develop this, because I think they could do a really good job with developing Iris and Barry if they just focus on it, which I don't really know if they're going to. So I really do hope they do, and like I said, some of the best scenes in the show are the ones between Iris and Barry, and I think this was a really nice scene. So as Wells works with the chemicals he had Griffin steal, Griffin wonders how he sleeps at night after he destroyed so many lives, and Wells says that he doesn't, explains that he has a daughter. Griffin says that he used to have a girlfriend, Jenny, but all of his dreams ended with the explosion. Jenny doesn't even recognize him since he's aged, and Wells tells Griffin to stop talking so he can concentrate, and Griffin says that Central City is screwed up because of him. He hopes it was worth it to Wells and walks off. So, obviously, we know he holds this grudge against Wells, which, again, it was not interesting. I wasn't interested. So, Caitlin turns on the electricity, breaks the brittle hammer with a hammer. The prisoner raps on the wall of his cell, getting their attention. Frost says that neither one of them is going home. She fires a blast of coal at Caitlin, who ducks out of the way and runs. Frost trips Caitlin with ice on the floor, says that she realized that Zoom didn't kill her because she looked like Caitlin, and with Caitlin there, Zoom won't need her, basically. That she feels that she can be Caitlin, and basically that's what she wants to be. So, she throws an icicle at Caitlin, but Zoom speeds and catches it, stabs her to death with the icicle, and this pissed me off, guys. You know why? Killer Frost is such a badass. I mean, there's so many things you can do with her. Literally so many opportunities you could do with Killer Frost. There's so much great about that character. There's so much great that Daniel Panbaker does, and then you just kill her off before she could really do anything. For me, I thought that she was going to help them take down Zoom. I really thought that's what was going to happen here, but no. Suddenly she decides that, no, I want to actually be Caitlin. I want to free you, and he says that if Caitlin tries the same thing with the masked prisoner, then he'll die as well, and speeds off. So, basically, I thought this was really dumb. I thought it was really dumb that Killer Frost, I understood why Frost wanted to do this, obviously, because the best thing to do would be for Frost to be Caitlin, so Caitlin could be set free. But again, just for me, I was really pissed off because I was really getting into the Frost-Caitlin dynamic. I really did love it. And then they just kill off Frost right then and there, which I was pissed off about. I really don't think they should have done that. I think they could have done a lot more with their character, and I am pissed off that they killed her off. Without a doubt, that ruined the episode for me. I was really upset that they did that. So Barry tells Cisco and Jesse he's not finding anything on facial recognition. Cisco's unable to find the cellular dead zone and locate Wells, and Jesse figures that Wells' watch with its meta tracking app will send a message to a server, which, again, meta tracking app, you guys know how cool I think those things are. She picks up the signal's point of origin and insists on coming with them. Cisco says that they upgrade the flash suit with dwarf star alloy, and they can only get enough to cover the chest and unit of the suit, and will only absorb one of Griffin's punches, so it is going to work, but not as well as it usually does, and Barry figures that will be enough. So at the park, Wells finishes the compound, gives it to Griffin. Griffin knows that Wells has been stalling and figures that he doesn't know how to help him. Wells says there's no helping him, and Griffin punches him as he moves in for the kill. The security alarm goes off. Flash, Cisco, and Joe enter the park, spots Griffin coming after them. Iris and Jesse turn on the lights, and Flash punches Griffin. Griffin shrugs off the blows and promises to finish Wells off once he disposes of Flash. Joe steps out, tells Griffin to freeze. Griffin throws a ride car at them and walks off. Jesse and Iris spot him heading for the Ferris wheel, and Flash goes after him. Griffin is aging rapidly and manages to punch Flash, knocking him into a booth. He advances and tells Flash that not everyone was so lucky when they got powers. Griffin throws another punch, hitting Flash away, but then collapses as aging finally overwhelms him, and Joe and Cisco arrive. They confirm that Griffin's dead, back to his 18-year-old appearance, and they find Wells and Jesse freeze her father. She hugs him and apologizes, and Wells says that he's sorry as well, and I didn't believe it. I really didn't believe that they're just suddenly okay, that they're just suddenly going to make up. This really felt cheesy, honestly. They've done a good job of making this feel like a genuine conflict, but having her forgive him like this really felt very cheesy. It just didn't seem like it would actually happen. So Jesse and Wells go to their room at Star Labs. Wells admits that it hasn't felt like a home since she left. Jesse says she has to bear the burden of Wells killing Turtle because of her, and you really didn't think that, Jesse would forgive him for that. That was the whole reason why she left, because she knew that he was killing these people for her, and she didn't want to be a part of that. So basically, Wells says that what he's done is unforgivable, and something inside him broke when his wife died. He swore on her grave to protect Jesse, and he couldn't stand to lose the only other person he loves. Jesse says she understands, but she needs to know that he won't hurt someone to save her. Wells promises he will be the kind of father that she can be proud of. If Jesse promises that she'll never run away, she agrees, and they hug, and I didn't believe it. I really didn't believe a single thing here. I wanted to, but I just didn't. So Joe then takes Wally to a rooftop, tells him to speak from his heart. Flash steps out on the nearby roof, and Wally thanks him for saving his life. He does know how he'll ever repay that, says that he's not going to waste the chance that Flash gave him. Flash says he's welcome and walks away, and basically, Wally is now seeing Barry. He knows that he's now had this encounter with Flash. I don't know if he knows that Barry is the Flash, but basically, I thought it was a very good scene. I definitely really did enjoy that, and I thought it was very well done. So at Zoom's lair, Jay checks on Caitlin. He reminds her that he saved her life, refuses to let her leave, and Hunter remembers his father telling him to stay and watch him kill his wife, and tells Caitlin that now he's going to start measure his triumphs by the number of Earths he's conquered. He figures that her Earth has already been brought to his knees and laughs in triumph, and basically, wants to obviously take over. So then we go to the post-credit scene. At Starless, Barry's looking at his flash suit when Wells comes in. Barry admits that he has no idea how to get Caitlin back without his powers. Even though they were able to take down Griffin, he doesn't think it's going to work with Caitlin and wonders what they're going to do. Wells explains that Griffin kidnapped him because he thought he was Wells and figures that he still hasn't paid for what he's done. He thought that he could forget about everything that he's done, but he can't. However, Wells has realized what he can do. He promises Barry that he's going to help him get his speed back by creating another particle accelerator. I don't know how this is going to work, and that's how the episode ends. So how they're going to do this, I have no idea. I don't know if they're going to create this particle explosion. I don't really know if this is going to work, but definitely that's very interesting to see what's going to happen with that, if they're actually going to create this particle accelerator explosion, if that's actually going to be successful for them. I mean, we know that Barry's got to get his speed back. Obviously, the show's called The Flash. Barry can't have his speed. Barry can't not have his speed for too many episodes. He needs to get his speed back eventually. But if that's really how it happens, it feels like a real cop-out. It really does. And for me, this episode was just very underwhelming and honestly felt kind of unnecessary. I really didn't feel the Griffin Gray thing was necessary here. It just seemed like it was a cop-out for Jesse and Wells to whatever reason make up, and that's really all we got here. Barry still doesn't have his speed. Cisco did absolutely nothing here. I really felt Cisco could have done more than just, give Barry a flash suit. He could have vibed, and we didn't really see that here. I really wanted to see him work with Barry, but we really didn't get to see that in this, unfortunately. Killer Frost was killed, which I was very pissed off about that they actually killed Frost. I think they could have used her for a lot more. Hopefully, they'll find a way to bring her back, but I don't really think there is, unfortunately. I really was hoping that Frost wouldn't die. She was funny, she was just awesome, and I loved everything about her. One of the best characters I think Flash has ever had, honestly. I love everything about Killer Frost, and I don't know why they had to kill her. What exactly is Hunter's plan? I can't really tell. We'll have to see what happens with that. I mean, it seems like he just wants world domination, so I don't really know. I'll see what happens with that. Does Wally know that Barry's a Flash? I feel like he does, but I'm not really sure. We'll have to see what happens with that. And then Iris and Barry, like I said, Iris has not confessed her feelings to Barry. I feel like that's something that she's definitely going to have to do eventually. We'll have to see what happens with that. But overall, guys, we have 4 episodes left, and I really hope we start to pick up the pace, because last year, the last 4 episodes were some of the best episodes of Flash has ever had. You guys remember how great that episode was, The Trap. The difference is that Barry knows everything there is to know about Zoom already. So that kind of lessens the impact of the last 4 episodes, because the last season was so slow-paced and this season was so fast-paced, things do feel different. I feel like that's part of the reason why we're not really getting anywhere, mainly because of the fact that things are so fast-paced that we already know so much information. Now we need to take a step back, and it just isn't really working as well as it should. For me, I'll get to that when I review the season overall, but overall, guys, not a huge fan of this episode. It definitely did feel like a throwaway episode, but let me know what you guys saw this episode. I'll love to hear your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.